Hello and welcome to another Franchise Hockey Manager stream. My name is Adam. I'm the community manager of Franchise Hockey. With me, as always, and not pictured on your screen, or pictured digitally on your screen, is FHM producer Jeff. Say hi, Jeff.
Hey, everybody.
And we are back with It Lives, the Cincinnati Stingers 1978-1979 WHA season continued. Jeff, why are we playing the 1978-79 WHA season?
Because we wanted to see what happens if the WHA doesn't go under at the end of the season or doesn't, have four teams merge into the NHL. So what we're
Merge
going to,
is kind of a generous word there.
well, theoretically,
Yes.
join
I
the
agree.
NHL and get completely strip mined in the process, other than a few players. So what we're going to do at the end of this year, we're just playing out the 78-79 season as it would have occurred normally. And then I guess we'll figure out next year. I think the plan was, if I remember right, just to leave the WHA basically intact.
Sorry, say that.
I think
You're
we were going to
gonna
leave the
Yes.
WHA as it was.
We
And you can
stopped
see
the
I'm just
teams
looking.
from showing up in the NHL.
Yeah, so I've got the teams turned off there. Yeah, that's all correct. And the other option that I had unselected, at least, stop playing when I did historically. So that's turned off. So the WHA won't die at the end of the season, and we'll be able to keep going. And I don't know, maybe add some additional expansion teams at some point for them too. But anyhow, we're playing as the Cincinnati Stingers this season, which is one of the teams that died when the WHA rather did. And it's a pretty decent team. A lot of good young players. Robbie Fatorik, who's I think one of the top all-time WHA points leaders before he was the Devils coach, and a young Mike Gartner too in his rookie season. I think he's a 19-year-old. He's already up to 3 stars. So, and keep in mind these are WHA relative stars, so that's not quite NHL level yet. Mike Liut in goal, still 22, got a great future ahead of him. So we got a lot of good building blocks here. So I think this should be a decent team. In the sort of short to medium run. We picked up a few miscellaneous players, guys who were either free agents. I think Matty Hagman had gone back to Europe from Quebec at this point, so we brought him back. Lou Morrison, junior teammate of Bobby Clark, who was a pretty good penalty killer. I think his career was pretty much winding down here. We brought him in to be, I think, our third or fourth line winger. And
Now,
who else did we got? Oh, Bill Nyrup, who had gone back to law school at this point, was retired, and we apparently talked him out of that. He's going to play for us.
well, we could have added some more young guys, but you didn't want to do that too.
Yeah, felt like cheating. And Steve Baker, who was I think is still playing college hockey at this point, and would eventually sign and play for the Rangers. I think he was a starter there for about a year and a half in New York. He's our backup now and not having much success at it. He's only 2 stars and goals against average of 6.63.
Which you have to remember in the WHA at this time, or even
No, that's not good even at WHA
it's
at this time.
it's not good, but it's not the worst.
We do have a couple of injury problems at this point. We started a little rough, 7-10 to start the season. We actually had a few. I think we had a bit of a winning streak off the start, so we've kind of struggled in the last couple of weeks. Pekka Ratakellio almost back from a bad cut in his face, but Mike Gartner now is out for a couple of weeks. So he's got to come out, and I think I'm going to have to shuffle the lines until he's ready to come back. And he only, we've got a couple of guys.
Now, Jeff, we are streaming live too on Steam right now.
Yeah.
So if someone's tuning in, watching us for the first time, what exactly did you do? I guess because I know you talked a little bit about it. So how are we stopping the WHA from folding here?
I've got on the manager options screen. I've turned historical editing on, which gives you once you've done that, you'll get this whole list of options down here. And what I've turned off is teams stop playing when they did historically, which would, if I didn't have that on, that would kill all the WHA teams at the end of this season because they stopped at this point. I've also turned off new teams appear when they did historically because that will add the NHL expansion teams in the WHA teams that merged into the NHL effectively as expansion teams next year, because we don't want a duplicate Edmonton and Winnipeg and Quebec and Hartford/New England showing up at the end of this season in the NHL. And I've also turned off league deactivation so the WHA won't die once we get to the end of this year. Yeah, let me just see what that news is about. Oh, yeah, that's just the injuries. Excellent. And Gartner's.
While we're doing that as well, I'd like to throw out if there's a team you want to see come back or what teams you want to see come back. Jeff and I are taking suggestions too.
Yep. Probably want to expand the WHA a little bit. And I should mention here that, well, first of all, I'm playing in debug mode, so that's what these little ID numbers are in the news messages. If you haven't seen those before, that's just something I'm doing because we're testing a new build for the final update that'll be coming sometime after the trade deadline. And although I'm going to have to sim all the games because I've made some changes to the 2D engine and they've just gone into a new build today, and I haven't had enough time to test them yet and see what they do. So just on the off chance that's going to break something, I'm only going to be simming games tonight. And a 4-point night out of Matty Hagman, and we defeat Birmingham 5-1. So, well, what do the standings look like now, anyhow? So firmly in the middle of the pack. And I think the way the playoffs work this year in the WHA, it's 1 through 3 make the playoffs, and 4 and 5 have a play-in. So as long as we stay ahead of one of these three teams, or two of these three teams rather, we'll be going to the playoffs. But still a long way to go before that happens. And what is the trading deadline here? February 14th, Valentine's Day. So we got a long way to go until that. And you can see the, whoops. And we lose 4-3 to Wayne Gretzky and the Indianapolis Racers. Gretzky playing at 17, and how'd he do? Well, perfect 100 game rating, 3 points, and a 96 offensive rating. Not bad for a guy who was just playing junior last year as a 16-year-old. And Chuck Luxa gets suspended for 3 games, so swap him for, yeah, I'll just put Radicchio in directly for him because he's not quite ready to play full minutes yet, and I think Luxa was on a lower pair. DeBall, is he almost back? No, he's another 2 weeks or so. And Gretzky beats us, although it wasn't Gretzky who got the points this time, but Indianapolis beats us again 5-4. Did we at least shut down Gretzky? Yeah, great. Another 100 game rating for him. Mark Messier not doing quite as well, but he had a goal at least. So the scary thing is Gretzky is presumably going to stay in the WHA for a little while at least. So we'll see the early 80s Gretzky in a league that's not quite as good as the NHL was. So we should have some ridiculous point totals out of him. And scouting update. And apparently we've got a weakness at D, but other than the few European players and some of the young free agents who kind of slipped through that draft loophole that exists in the first couple of seasons when you start the WHA this late. I'll leave that alone. Whoops, Coates is down to half a star. How'd that happen? You have to put shut in for him? Development report, still pretty good news. It's a relatively young team. Whoa, that's not good. Dave DeBall loses 2 points and he's only 22. Why is he going downhill? Geez, Merrill, wow. Did I screw up something with the training? No, it's all set. What's my coaching staff look like? Okay, that's right. Yeah, this coaches all look like they're more or less in the right place. Just not sure if that's bad luck or what. I have to keep an eye on that, though. Watch the next month's development report, too. And wow, Winnipeg crushes us 6-1. So we're back to struggling again.
Well, I mean, Winnipeg was one of the best teams at this point.
Yeah, they're leading the league right now, 17-6-1.
Mostly because they ate all of Houston.
Yeah, and in this game, I think Bobby Hull got injured, what was it, 3 games into the season in the real 78-79?
We looked this up last time, and yeah, it wasn't very much.
I can actually just check it here on his real stats tab. 4 games. He only played 4 games this year, and he's already up to 24. Yeah, he's played every Jets game so far, although he's not in the, just barely hanging on to the top 5 in the scoring, so he's slowing down. But he may be around for a couple of years yet because he's still 4 stars in WHA terms.
Well, he could end up retiring too. Is he on a 1-year deal, I think?
Just checking the board. My job security first. Had board conference update. Still in reasonably good shape. Hull is on 3 years. So I think we will get at least another season out of him.
Oh, right. Everybody's on a 3-year contract right now.
And we pick up a 3-2 win over Quebec with Jim Corsi in goal. How's our injuries coming along? Still red.
Any COVID?
Only in Vancouver. Man. Not sure what they're going to wind up doing, if they're going to have to shut down the Canucks season like a few games earlier, or if they're going to make up these games, or...
So, Jeff, tell me, for those people who are not familiar with, we added storylines back in, Jeff, what was it, FHM 5 or was it 4? I want to say 5.
I think it was 4.
Okay. Well, when we did it, we added a bunch of storylines, including one really rare storyline, I think, did we not, where you can actually lose the Stanley Cup final?
Lose it? How?
Well, like it being canceled, just like the 1919 one.
Nope, it doesn't get canceled, but you can. There is an event in there that when you're playing historical and you're in the 1919 season, your players can get the flu.
I thought we did have one where it could like take away the end of the season.
No, can't be done. You can't shut down a storyline. Can't shut down a tournament.
All right.
We would have to hard code all that. And by the way, we just got crushed 9-1 by the Whalers.
Excellent.
We really need our injuries back, and wondering if I maybe should take a look at a free agent or two. Tapio Levo, who's had like a one good half season in Colorado, is out there.
Cardinals fan 30,000 in the chat says, as a new hockey fan, I have no idea what's going on.
You want to explain WHA to him, Adam?
Is that what Cardinals fan is? It the WHA that has you confused, or what? I'll wait for your answer before I do explain, but I will gladly explain what you need to know in as few terms as possible.
I'm going to limit myself to guys who are at least 21 here. There we go. Roland Stultz, who had like a handful of games for the Capitals in 81-82. There's also a different Roland Stultz. Not sure if that's his father or not. But was one of Swedish international player in the, I think, the 50s or 60s. And Dan Poulin, grab him as well. Also had a couple of games for the North Stars the same season.
And rookies. Come on. You know you want to.
What was that?
Sign one of the rookies. Come on.
Cheating.
Come on.
Cheating.
Come on.
Send a couple of guys down while Lux is down to 1 star so he can go to the minors and develop a little more. Swap Daryl Maggs, who's declining, out for Poulin. And do I want to take more? No, Gordy Clark. Long-time Bruin farmhand, and I think later Flyers played for quite a while for Maine in WHL, or WHL, AHL. Okay, and Stultz goes right to the first line. Not sure that's a great idea. I'm going to have to put Jamie Hislop in there instead.
Oh, it's an excellent idea, Jeff. Come on, the guy you just signed off the street.
Not quite off the street.
Okay, Cardinals fan, 30,000 in the chat says he doesn't understand everything. Okay, in 1972, well, actually before that, a group of businessmen who wanted NHL teams but couldn't get them because the NHL didn't want to expand, decided to create a new league in competition with the NHL called the World Hockey Association. They initially set it up to be a pure competitiveness, but nobody really took it seriously. And reporters doing their job at the time constantly questioned guys, basically saying, what would it take for you to join the new league? And Bobby Hull, who was one of the NHL's biggest stars at the time, basically said, well, they'd have to pay me $1 million to play in that league. And so Winnipeg talked to every other team in the league and said, okay. And so they signed him to a 10-year, $1 million contract. And basically that immediately legitimized the league. The WHA was never an incredibly strong league. It had a lot of good players.
It varied quite a bit over time. I mean, the first year it's even questionable if they were as good as the AHL in their first season, other than a handful of players. But after that, they improved quite a bit to the point where they played before they finally went out of business. And by the late 70s, they were playing exhibition games against the NHL and winning occasionally.
Yeah, the WHA was pretty upset, or the NHL was pretty upset that the WHA had started. And it created a lot of hostile environment. But what it did do was it kicked off, excuse me, and actually started paying players more money. And which was a good thing for the players because they were not making a lot of money previous to this.
We are really struggling here.
In 1978, the WHA was down to 7 teams. And they were trying to convince the NHL basically to merge and take the teams.
Which is the season we're in right now in the game.
Yes. But the NHL did not want to bring in teams that were stronger than the worst NHL teams. So basically they took in 4 WHA teams: Winnipeg, Edmonton, Quebec, and New England.
Which became disbanded in the NHL.
Yes. And disbanded the rest. Teams were allowed to protect 2 players on the roster, with a couple teams making side deals for other
11-0 lost to Birmingham.
Ouch. With a couple side deals to protect other guys. The 3 teams that were disbanded got minor league teams, and Winnipeg, Edmonton, Quebec, and New England joined the NHL. In 1979, in a quasi-expansion, but really just destroyed the teams, but gave them NHL teams. Of those, only the Edmonton Oilers remain in the NHL as such. Quebec moved to Colorado. Winnipeg moved to Phoenix, although Winnipeg was brought back after the Atlanta Thrashers closed up shop and moved to Winnipeg. And New England became Hartford. Hartford is now Carolina. Best known probably for their storm surges today. But we are going to try, and with this now, keep the WHA going into the 80s and basically compete for players against the NHL. one of the other big changes the WHA also made was drafting 18-year-old.
And in this case, signing a couple of 17-year-olds, which are
Yes.
who are on Indianapolis right now, Gretzky and Messier.
Well, Gretzky didn't sign a contract to play hockey. He signed a personal services contract.
Yeah, for 21 years through 1999.
Yes, which is how they got around him not being 17. But yes, hopefully that gives you some outline. Yes, so Wayne Gretzky started in the WHA. Mark Messier played a little bit. Actually, most of the big players in the 80s probably played a little bit in the WHA.
No, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of them.
Well, a lot of them, Jeff. Mike, well, I said you on our team, Mike Gardner, Michael Lute. A lot of guys did cycle through the WHA.
Losing streak is now at 9 games and counting. Scared to even look at the job security screen. Well, it's still hanging on.
Yes. Even Gordy Howe retired and came back to play in the WHA with his sons. So 50-year-old Gordy Howe is playing with New England in this game. How's he doing for points, by the way, Jeff?
Let's see. He's not in the leaders. 33 points in 28 games. He's missed a couple of games. And Mark Howe has actually missed a few more. He's had 27 and 20, and Marty is farther down the list. But yeah, pretty good team in New England. Significantly better than us. Although we at least have the second leading scorer in the league, Robbie Ftorek. And we got Gretzky to play again tonight. And they only beat us 5-1 this time. Much better. At least we've been relatively injury-free so far, but it hasn't really helped us at all. There we go. Finally, 6-5 win over Indianapolis. Ftorek with 3 points. So let's stick with this lineup for, well, would stick with this lineup if somebody hadn't gotten hurt. So Byron shut out, and Paul Stewart, future referee Paul Stewart in. And the player poll, absolutely none of our guys mentioned. Good. That's finally starting to see some better choices in those new categories we had at the bottom, the overrated, underrated, etc. And how New England up next? Well, we played them reasonably close this time, 6-4 loss. Look at the player stats just to see if I can figure out what's going wrong here. Okay, Ftorek getting a ton of points. Hagman also doing pretty well from the second line center position. Rick Dudley doing okay-ish. Radicchio good in his first year back in the WHA. And kind of drops off after that. We haven't really had consistent scoring from the first line guys besides Dudley. Gardner not doing badly for a rookie. Craig Norwich, yeah, that's a problem. Craig Norwich, who's here as an offensive defenseman, only has 12 points in 31 games. He's not getting it done at all. Nyrup kind of struggling. What do the goalies look like? Ouch. Awful season for Liut so far, 4.65 goals against average, although his save percentage is reasonably high. And Baker has not gotten any better.
This is Liut, who is now an NHL agent, correct?
I think so, yeah. It was
Okay, was he
great
the one who
goalie for
got
the
cut?
Blues, too. Actually gave Gretzky a run for his money as MVP one year.
Was he the one who got cut in the neck, or is that a different one?
Cut in what?
Cut in the neck.
No, that was Clint Malarchuk.
Oh, Malarchuk. Ah, yes, of course. I was trying to remember, and I'm like, no, that's okay. No, Mike Liut is now probably best known for being Patrick Laine's agent, who I'm sure feels really good about forcing that trade out of Winnipeg right now.
Not that you're bitter or anything.
I'm not. I'm really not. I think it's been a
More
really good
gloating than bitter.
Gloating might be closer, yes.
Okay.
Every time I see a tweet, makes me just smile a little bit.
And a 5-3 win over Indianapolis, so we're finally starting to beat them regularly. Gardner with 4 points, and so does Fedoruk. And about a month out to the trading deadline, and we are not in a playoff spot, and it's not looking good because we're 8 points back of Edmonton, and they've got 6 games in hand. And Gretzky leading the league in scoring already. Narrow loss to Birmingham, but at least it's not 11-0.
Sure.
And 6-4 loss to Hartford, or New England rather. No, not Hartford yet. Bobby Hull's apparently picked it up. He's got a 12-game point scoring streak now. How far ahead of the Jets? Actually, New England has passed Winnipeg, 1 point ahead of them.
If I remember correctly, New England had to change their name because Boston wouldn't let them be New England.
Yeah, I think there was something about that I remember. And in the NHL, Islanders are dominating, starting to take over from Montreal. The Habs are still doing pretty well.
As you would expect.
Yeah, Flyers and the Canucks dead last. Oh no, Detroit and Washington are a little worse than the Canucks.
Oh, you said Detroit. That means P-Wog's going to show up at some point very soon.
Well, when he shows up, we can tell him they're not doing well at all.
As you would expect.
First overall pick next year. Wow, that's ugly. Indianapolis yet again. So when you've only got 7 teams in the league, you see each team a lot. And Gretzky gets 5 points against us.
Now, they were very much playing what the current type NHL schedule for this year. Like just go play your team 2 or 3 times at their home and then move somewhere else.
Yeah, so I think it'll be a little more interesting if we expand this league a bit. Eight 3 loss to the Jets. Hull with 3 points, among several guys on the Jets with 3 points. And Hull's got a 15-game point scoring streak now. And we are last overall, which is going to give us the first draft pick next year, although it's not really a real draft. The WHA draft was kind of dead at this point. What they had done was, and what we've got in sort of an approximation, is the under 18 signings draft. So each team can, because this is the year that they started signing players without even drafting them as 18 or 17-year-olds rather. So we'll be able to do that next season. We'll have first crack at the guys at the upcoming draft prospects, and
Okay,
we
Jeff,
don't have the list of those yet.
On that note, then, if you get fired, what are you going to do?
Start a different game again for what, the third time in FHM 7?
No, I was just wondering if you were going to take over one of the new expansion teams.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Could
if you get fired. If you get fired.
Not going to get fired. I have faith.
What are you at right now? I'm curious.
Job security wise, you mean?
No.
Still holding on to yellow. Fans aren't
not exactly
thrilled,
great,
but not incredibly unhappy. Now we got a problem. Fatorik was hurt for a few games. So there was our best player. And somehow, despite that, we come up with a 5-2 win over the Oilers. And the Oilers have picked up Michel Dion somehow. How'd that happen? They got him from Quebec? Or did we? Oh, no, we traded him. That's right. We traded him for Gustafsson. Makes sense. Yeah, that's how we got him. Okay, I remember now. Gustafsson, who's almost back from injury. What does the development report look like this time? Okay, much better. A lot of pluses, only one minus. But Indianapolis shuts us down 9-2 again. We've had, I think, more blowout losses this year than any game I can remember us playing.
It's happened.
And now another guy in our first line goes down. Rick Dudley hurt this time. Out for 1 or 2 weeks with a sore knee. Oh, and Peter Marsh on top of that. So I'm going to have to play guys who are not quite healthy yet. Board confidence update. The owner's now saying the season is disappointing.
Duh.
6-4 loss to Quebec. That's our 12-33 at this point. This is just ugly. And another 10 days to the trading deadline. Easy 7-2 win for Quebec over us. Yet another injury. Oh, and if I think I mentioned this last week, but we've added in the upcoming update, there's now a option for injury frequency. You can change that away from the default of normal. And you can lower that.
Last week.
What was that?
We showed that right at the end of last week.
Yeah, we didn't think about it. But if you didn't see last week's, yeah, that's going to be in there upcoming now.
Speaking of which, Jeff, we haven't talked about, did you see the big trade today?
Yeah, Zajac and Palmeri to the Islanders. Looks like the Islanders are getting serious.
Well, after they lost, what's his name? I literally could not think of the two guys they sent back, though. And I'm like, who are these guys? Oh, two minor leaguers who don't mean anything. So basically it's 2 guys for a first-round pick and a possible up to third-round pick.
Yep.
Actually, the one guy I did recognize because he was a second-round pick, but he's not exactly
fitness looking like. Okay, the guys are in reasonably good shape. Haven't had to use the injured list. Really wish one of our wingers would develop well. Gartner's up to 3.5 stars. Didn't even have to finish the sentence, and he did. Got an extra star, half star.
He heard you.
Narrow 3-2 loss to the Oilers, and our old goalie, Michel Dion. Trade deadline is nearing, 5 days away. Probable loss to the Jets coming up here. No, 8-4 win. Mike Gartner, 6 points. Very nice. And nobody with really huge game ratings, although Bill Nyrup had a perfect game defensively, and Gartner was a 98 offensively. Are we, still struggling to even catch Birmingham to get out of last place? And the interesting thing with this pseudo draft we'll have at the end of the season, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be able to sign these guys, because guys won't be quite as willing to sign with the WHA team as they would with the NHL.
Oh, we'll still try.
Cincinnati and New England, and there we go, back to our usual ways. 8-2 loss to the Whalers.
Stop trying to get fired.
I don't need to try. Okay, trading deadline. It is... Yeah, this is hopeless. We're 5 points out of a playoff spot. Or, no, 21 point. No, that's fifth. 15 points out of a playoff spot. Not counting the games they've got in hand. Let's see if I can get anything for Norwich. I'm just going to shop 3 guys and see what we can get. Winnipeg offers us Paul Terbench. It's much better defensively than Norwich, but older and not crazy about that. I'm going to say no. Quebec offering a Finnish defenseman, pretty similar, only a bit younger. Also a bit of a downgrade, not good there. And the Racers offering Dave Inkpen, who's almost the same age as Norwich, played a bit for the Hartford Whalers in the first couple of years in the NHL. But not like he's that much of a defensive upgrade. He's okay defensively. He's better than Norwich, but doesn't have Norwich's offensive upside. So I'm going to have to say no there too. Any ideas who else we should look at moving, Adam?
Honestly, I think we should probably just kind of suck it up for the year, but taking a quick look.
Dudley is slipping bad.
He might be a guy to move. He's already 29.
30 already in this game. I think he had a birthday.
30, yeah. 29 to start, but...
Not sure we're going to get very good offers on him. Oh, we got a few more than we did for the other one. Oilers offering Dennis Sobchuk, who is a good, great scorer in the Western League as a junior and in the minors, but not so much in the NHL and WHA. And even though he's 25, his career is winding down at this point, so that's a no. Jets offer Terbench again, nope. Tim Sheehy from Hartford, who hasn't been playing much for them this season, 1.5 stars, no, not a good deal. Quebec, Gilles Bilodeau, basically a goon. And we've already got Paul Stewart, so he'd be kind of redundant. Don Larway, who'd been a pretty good player in the first, 2-3 years ago in WHA. He's tailed off a bit here, but he's younger than Dudley. Not as much of a scorer this year, but I mean, that's basically because Dudley's been putting up points playing with Fatorik. That's a maybe. And Birmingham offers a elderly Brent Hughes defenseman. Don't want that. I think I'm going to go with that Larway trade for Dudley just because I think Larway might potentially at least not decline anymore, and Dudley seems to be going downhill.
Do it.
So he's gone. I think that he was one of our assistant captains, so we'll have to change that. And I'm going to try shopping Daryl Maggs around for the third player, basically trying to replace some of our older guys who are probably past it. The Jets offer Bill Lesuc, who's almost done. Quebec offering Kevin Devine, who had a decent career, I think, for the Islanders farm teams after the merger, but is only 1 star. That's a no. And Indianapolis again with the best offer to us, but it's for a 32-year-old Don Burgess, who, no, we don't really want him. So I think we'll just make the one deal.
Makes sense. There's no point really pushing, and hopefully we do end up with it. You don't want to screw yourself out of the first pick now, too.
Yep, I don't think we've got any fear of losing that. So the post trading deadline lines, yeah, that mostly makes sense. Hagman goes up to the first line, so we're pretty much putting all of our scoring on the. Going to bump up their ice time a bit. Sorry, I got a new mouse the other day, and I'm still getting used to it. I'm not quite accurate with the pointing yet. That's why I'm kind of fumbling around here a bit.
What kind of mouse did you buy?
Logitech MX518.
Fancy.
Not the super old school one, but the like the reissue of it. I had, which is what I just had. I had one before, but apparently they've got a cheap switch and the left, or I guess for both the clicking buttons, and it wears out relatively quickly. So I don't know how long I'll have this, but it's only like a $50 mouse. So. Oh, number.
Sometimes it's hard buying expensive things.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't really want to spend like $120 on a quote-unquote gaming mouse that is going to break just as fast as anything else. This, aside from the one switch, it's got a nice construction, and it's got a good cord, and it's like the cord is secured properly at the edge of the mouse. That's usually where my mice break. And that's a 6-4 loss to Quebec, so we're not doing any better after the trading deadline. Were there any other moves? Cincinnati and Indianapolis. Oh, no, that's us. Quebec. Dumping Gilles Bilodeau to Indianapolis for a draft pick. And... okay, so basically that's one big deal. They swapped first-round picks, and Paul Papil and Gilles Bilodeau changed teams. (10-1) loss to the Jets. Kent Nielsen with 7 points. So as promising as this team looked at the start of the year, they're definitely not quite there yet. Try Hagman keeping him stuck in the second line, so that balances things out a little bit more. My God, the AI wants to put Paul Stewart on the first line. I don't think so. Oh, that's because Stultz and Larway are both hurt, as is Peter Marsh, still a little bit. Marsh is almost back. And playing against Indianapolis, who seems to be loading up for a playoff run. 10-2 loss. Gretzky with 7 points. Blaine Stoughton, who's still in Indianapolis at this point. I think he got traded to New England in real life halfway through this season. Or no, when Indianapolis went under. I forgot they died partway through this season, and he wound up in New England and wound up being a pretty good player for the Whalers for their first year, a few years in the NHL. Had 50 goals, was at least once, might have been twice. Okay, so Marsh is back now. I'm actually going to try him on the first line. So he had a few good years in the NHL, so I think he's got a little bit of development room left. Nope, 6-2 loss to Quebec. Literally nothing we're doing is working here. May have to get aggressive with the free agents at the start of the next season, in the off season. I think this is a 76-game season, if I remember right, Adam. Oh, 5-4 win over the Oilers.
I think so.
Liud has a big game. Or 78 might be.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
And Dave Duvall is hurt yet again. Sore Achilles tendon day to day. Maybe he'll be back in time for the next game. Although Larway is almost healthy again, too. Had a few days off there. Duvall's still hurt. But Stultz and Larway are ready to go back in. Oh, I forgot to choose another alternate captain here. Candidates. Hagman, low determination, that's not good. Could make Paul Stewart a captain. Or Mike Gartner at 19 a captain. Basically, the main thing I'm looking for is leadership and a fairly high determination. I think I'm going to go with Nyrup as the other captain.
You took one away? Is that what you mean?
No, when I traded, what's his name, Dudley?
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant. Man, I usually pick up on that. I can't believe I missed that.
Let's see how badly the Jets destroy us here. Ah, 8-6 win. Gardner with a 5-point night. Pretty good game for the rookie. How's he? Take a quick look at our scoring. Yeah, Fatorik's still having a huge year. Hagman pretty good with his first year back in the WHA. And Gartner 53 points in 48 games. He'd have a great shot at Rookie of the Year if there wasn't a guy named Gretzky in Indianapolis.
It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, Gretzky with 99 points, appropriately enough. Another good development report. Not sure what was off with that one that we got. Gretzky's Player of the Month and his goalie, Gary Smith. I don't think we've been able to win 2 games in a row since the start of the season. It's a 6-3 loss to Edmonton. I keep shuffling the lines, and it doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot.
I'm not unsurprised. What's your job security look like?
1 second. Job security is still hovering about where it was.
All right, that's not bad.
Yellowish, about to tilt over to the sort of orange warning zone. And 4-1 loss against Edmonton, the Gretzky-less Oilers. Gordy Howe had a big game. What did he do? 4-assist game against Indianapolis, so Gretzky versus Howe. 17-year-old Wayne Gretzky against 49-year-old Gordy Howe. And hey, we won in overtime against Hartford. Or I keep saying Hartford, it's New England at this point. Best team in the league, and we beat them. But we're still 5 points out of, or 5 points deep in last place. DeBall is healthy, but his fitness isn't quite there yet. I'm going to give this lineup one more game and then swap things around a bit. Naturally, we follow up the win with a 7-3 loss.
Well, you got to be just about done the season too, though. You not, Jeff?
Getting there. I'm trying to rush it a little bit so we can
move on next episode.
Do the off season in the next show. Okay. Really need to get one of these wingers to develop on the left side. Let's try Gustafsson there. Nope, 7-2 loss against the Jets, who've apparently signed Dave Christian about 2 years early. And Gretzky up next. Yeah, 5-1 loss. Only 3 assists for Gretzky, kind of an off night. I think he had 110 points in real life in this year, so he's going to beat that. Now who's hurt? DeBall again for the 3rd time this season. Easy 6-2 win for the Oilers against us. And yet another injury this time. Oh, great. It's Gardner this time. Day to day. Bruised cheekbone. At least it's nothing serious. And hey, we steal a 3-2 win over Birmingham. So we're basically good for about 1 win every 7 or 8 games. Well, maybe not quite that. A little better than that. Can we win 2 in a row for the first time in God knows how long?
No.
No, we cannot. 5-2. At least Gartner's almost healthy again. Play this game against Birmingham, and hopefully he'll be ready after that. Nope, 6-3 loss to Birmingham. Paul Henderson winding his career down there, but good enough for 4 points against us. And is Gartner still only 80% health, so I'm not going to play him. The rest of the team is at full fitness, though. And they come up without Gartner, they get a 5-point night out of Ftorek, and we win 6-4 against Birmingham. Now we've got Quebec again the next night. Come on, at least win 2 for once. Try Gustafsson in that first line left wing spot. Has Larway got the right role? Not sure about that.
I think you're overthinking it for how much time's left.
True enough. And nope, we get shut out 3-0 by Jim Corsi in Quebec. How many games have I got here? I don't think we're going to quite make it. We're going to have to. I'll probably may finish this season up off stream and just get us into the off season, because I think it's pretty obvious that we're not going to be winning anything here. 5-4 loss against Edmonton in overtime, which gets us no points. There's no single point for a loss here. And Fatorik comes up with a minor injury. Going to sit him in half for one game because I don't want to risk doing serious damage to him. And somehow we win without our best player. 4-3 over the Jets against one of the better teams in the league. And we get a rematch. Fatorik is healthy this time. And in the rematch, we lose 6-2 naturally. But yet again, Silence Poulin hurt this time. So Melrose goes back in. I pulled Marsh out because he was too tired. Now I'm going to have to do the same for somebody else, probably Thomas, I think. Nothing win for Gretzky in the Racers. 5 points for Blaine Stoughton, 4 for Gretzky. Gretzky gets yet another Player of the Month award. And another reason, well, great Don Larway, we just traded for, lost a point in strength. But at least some of the other young guys are improving. Now Nyrup, certain practice. Pleurisy. Haven't seen that in a long time. Indianapolis again, and presumably another blowout loss. Ah, 4-0 shutout. We should finally shut Gretzky down. Liut is red hot again and gets the first star. So maybe we can close this season out without embarrassing ourselves too much here. Can we win 2 in a row? No, we cannot. At least it's only a 2-1 loss to Quebec. And looks like we played them pretty well. And got them again back-to-back games here. And a 6-3 win for us the second time around. So we won 2 out of 3. New England, 3-2 overtime loss. I think we're almost done here. 2 games to go. Oh, Matty Hagman breaks his hand. Gone for a couple of months. Second to last game of the season against Birmingham. We lose 6-3. And finally, we close it out against Edmonton with a 7-3 loss, appropriately enough. You think we got any award nominees, Adam?
I highly doubt it.
Oh, Gartner. Is that the Rookie of the Year award? I think so. But he's going to be losing that to Gretzky for sure. So Gardner gets one nominee for us.
Well, that's better than could have hoped.
Quickly run through the playoffs. Oh no, it's only 4 teams making the playoffs. So Indianapolis up on Winnipeg, and Quebec beats New England. That's a bit of an upset, I think. And Gartner gets a postseason injury. Somehow cut his neck. Quebec and Indianapolis, both upset winners of the first round.
I guess he really didn't want to play in the postseason.
And Indianapolis with Gretzky leading the league. What would have been WHA's final season? It was would have been the last Avco Cup champions, but they'll be sticking around. So that's actually a little scary that they managed to win this year. They weren't that great in real life this season. I wonder what they did.
Well, they also didn't have Gretzky the whole season.
Oh, we missed a big trade here. February 14th at the deadline. I didn't notice that. Indianapolis.
They picked up Gordy Howe.
Yeah. And Gordy Howe and George Lyle from New England for Kevin Morrison, who was pretty good, I think, Colorado the following season or two in the NHL. So that's the big pickup for New England. He's probably, he's only 1.5 stars. I got to check the ratings on that.
That's ridiculous, and I love it.
So you've got, wait, did they actually have? Oh no, he wasn't playing. Oh, was he hurt? Must have been hurt or something for the end, but I would assume they had Gretzky playing with Howe for a fairly substantial part of the playoffs. So that explains that, and that'll be a fun combination to watch going forward, assuming Howe doesn't retire at the start of the season.
That's amazing.
So that would have been a fun way to wind up the WHA, but they're going to keep playing. And I think I'll get this up to July 1st or so, and that's probably where we'll pick it up next year, and we'll do the setup for what we're going to do.
Adding a bunch
we'll
of
figure.
teams.
Go ahead.
For adding a bunch of teams.
Don't know if it'll be a bunch, but it'll be at least one.
I got to add a couple.
Maybe the NHL needs to get some too to make up for losing the 4 WHA teams. We could have expansion teams in both leagues.
Oh, you want the Hamilton Tigers back?
Yeah. No, I think St. Louis almost wound up moving to Saskatoon around this time. We can put a team in Saskatoon.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of putting Hamilton back, and then you could add back the Montreal Maroons.
Or the Wanderers. Okay, you want to wind up here then, Adam?
All right, so thank you very much for tuning in to another Franchise Hockey Manager stream. We typically stream every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/OOTP Developments. All of our streams are archived on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/OOTP Developments as well. You can reach out to us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Franchise Hockey Manager. On Twitter, we're at Franchise Hockey. We can find a link to our official Discord in our Twitter bio as well. Or you can come on down to our official website, which is ootpdevelopments.com. Click on the community button in the top right-hand corner, which will bring you to our official forums. We can come talk about Franchise Hockey Manager 7, Out of the Park Baseball 22, Out of the Park Go, Perfect Team, or anything else you wish to discuss. Jeff, did I miss anything?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything there. Still working on the final update. Like I mentioned, this was a new build this week. Didn't crash or anything on us, so that's good news. And I'll be taking another quick look after we finish up here at the 2D engine changes, and then probably passing this on to the testers. We've done a few new things with 2D. There's I don't announce them yet, but we'll probably show them to you a week or two before we're ready to release this. And one thing I can mention, somebody had requested that we added the ability in the last update to customize your player icons on the 2D display. And someone had requested that we have a separate, an option to have a separate icon for the goalie. So if you wanted to put in little pictures of the players at each position and have a separate one for a goalie, so it doesn't look like you had a skater in the net, we just added that in this update. So I got to check if that's working okay, but that should be in the final update. And naturally, it'll be the NHL trading deadline, which is coming up this next Tuesday.
Monday. Monday, I think.
Monday noon. 11. I think it's I think you're right. And so we'll do the final roster update as of that time. So thanks for coming out, and we will be back here next week with Adam's San Jose game, which is going much, much better than this.
Relatively.